This video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. Do you ever wonder what you'd look like in a completely different clothing style than what you'd usually go for? Well, I just so happen to do, and today I thought why not just go and find out. Today's video will be some styling, some photography, and some Photoshop, all to create some cool looking stylish images of me in different sorts of clothing styles, which is cool, but also because I'm curious to see if I can pull those off. This idea is honestly so catastrophically far out of my comfort zone, but to be fair, that's all the more reason to do it. And the first style for today is going to be Gothic and or alternative, so let's get straight to it. To kind of figure out what I needed to do, I went on Pinterest and looked for some inspiration and reference material. It is pretty clear what we need to do here, but still I didn't want to overdo it. I'd hate for it to be way too cheesy or cliche. So I'll try and do these in a manner that still feels like it could be me. A bit more subtle than this, for example. Things I definitely needed though are black robust clothing, lots and lots of jewelry and piercings, big ass black boots, and tattoos. With that in mind, I went on a little shopping trip and went looking for things I thought might work for this outfit, along with all the other ones, but that comes later. This is all just based on intuition, of course, because I have basically zero knowledge about styling and clothing and outfits. Well, that is kind of the point, to see how far I can get with absolutely no practice. Eventually, I ended up with the following things: a simple t-shirt with a print on it, some cargo pants, socks with a chest pattern so it's not all black, the big ass black boots I talked about, a black and silver belt, and a bunch of jewelry. Keep messing this up. Jewelry, okay. Everything else would happen in Photoshop. I changed into the stuff I picked out, and I gotta say, I didn't hate this at all. It isn't something I would typically go for, especially the boots, but I was very curious how this was gonna turn out for sure. With my hair, I went for a curly, messy kind of look to match the nature of this style, and well, then I had to set up my lights in my studio, put a camera down, and get right to it. I went for a pretty dark setting with minimal lighting to kind of match the vibe once again. Now, usually when I take photos, it's for dumb stuff, like Photoshop battles or thumbnails, so having to be super serious like this felt a tad uncomfortable, to be honest with you. It's not that I'm insecure about the way I look in any way, it's just I don't ever regard myself as a model or even close to that, so literally pretending to be one will never not be strange. Yeah, I have no idea if any of this is useful at all, but I guess there's only one way to find out. I ended up with what I hoped were some nice pictures. I copied them all over to my PC and then started sorting them like my life depended on it. They didn't turn out as great as I had hoped, but I did end up with one or two solid contestants. After a quick little touch-up, I opened them in Photoshop, and well, time to get started. The first and most obvious thing is we need to cut me out. I'm gonna make the background super clean, nice and dark at first, and then later we can see if we can do something fancy with it. And this is actually gonna take a while, so I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I think that should be it. Let's cut that out. These photos did turn out a bit grainier than my initial idea was, but I do think it's still usable, especially because it's so far zoomed in. Besides, for the second one, it's not nearly as bad, so really, it's fine. And what I'll do first right now is add a very, very subtle sort of light. This is definitely not the final background, but I just want to have something in there to make it look a bit nicer until we actually do that. So first, let's see. I think the best and most important thing we should do is kind of remove the imperfections that are sticking out too much. Whereas using the AI remove tool. I don't want to overdo it, especially because this is already pretty clean looking. But yes, just like this, fixing up the little tiny spots. Also over here, just getting rid of all the little dots. This is optional, of course. I don't technically have to do this, but since this is kind of a modeling type photo, I do want to, you know, make it a bit more clean than usual. Once again, here's before and after, just subtle. And I'm thinking, since this is a Gothic type thing, what if we add some very subtle eyeliner? And I'm not sure if this will work, but let's just try it out with a very low flow. Just kind of paint. You can barely even see it. This might actually do a lot without noticing it. Also on the waterline, just a little bit. As you can see, this is before, this is after. Definitely does something. Second eye as well to see what happens. Is that nice? I think it's fine, actually. Now, before we continue, this video is in paid partnership with BetterHelp, an online therapy platform designed to make mental health support convenient. Now, there is a reason this particular organization resonates with me personally. I myself believe mental health is probably the most important thing in life in general, but also as a creator. I often feel overwhelmed and pressure to do more, create faster, achieve bigger things and cooler things. It's almost like a constant expectation to make drastic changes, improve my skills, make sure people enjoy it too, all the while making sure I myself enjoy it as well, which at times can definitely feel paralyzing. These kind of feelings definitely creep into your work and daily life. You start comparing yourself to others, you can get stuck in positions that you don't want to be stuck in. You may relate to these type of issues in either your work, at school, daily life, no matter what. That is where therapy can really help. It can give you tools to help deal with feelings like not being good enough, comparing yourself to others, and most importantly, it can help you set realistic, achievable goals without adding extra pressure to yourself. And that is why I am genuinely happy to be partnering up with BetterHelp. They make getting mental health support simple. All you gotta do is just fill out a short questionnaire and they'll match you with a therapist in as little as just a couple of days. And BetterHelp is completely online, which for people like me, of course, is great. You can talk to a therapist from wherever you feel most comfortable, your own couch, at home. And if you don't really feel the connection with your first therapist, you can just switch for free. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, this can be a great first step. With the link down below, you can get yourself 10% off your first month of membership at BetterHelp. Once again, big thanks to them for wanting to be a partner on this video. Then I guess right now, let's get back to it. For this one, we really have to focus on the main image, the whole outfit. Whereas for this second photo, this is where we can do some more things with the face, but that comes later. One of the more fun aspects, however, are of course the tattoos. Now, what I personally prefer to do for tattoos is using actual photos instead of just pictures of tattoos, like the clean designs. Because when you use actual photos, you already have that reference. I found this image, which I kind of like this part, and the position of the arm isn't too far off, so let's go and use that. I will first select the part of the arm that we need. This doesn't have to align perfectly, but just more or less. And then the trick is, let me just try something here. We first desaturate it. We make sure the tattoo is nice and dark and the skin is nice and white. And then we set this to multiply, I think. Decrease the fill a little bit. And then this is the fun part, using blend if to kind of fix that highlight. Oh, now that is not terrible. I can kind of try and tweak it a little bit more, but I think it's not gonna get much better than this. I also found this neck tattoo. So really, let's go and do the exact same thing once again. I think this one may be a bit harder because it's less clear. Angle does match pretty much perfectly. So again, make blacks dark and the whites very, very light. And then put this back on multiply. It does look pretty sweet. And once again, we just need to make sure it's erase from the highlights like that. Very subtle it is, but it works. And then, well, that is a neck tattoo. One thing I don't love is the way the necklace is not straight. That's a bit unfortunate that I did not notice that while shooting, but I guess, can we fix that? Maybe. That's a big maybe. We can just get rid of it with AI. I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's see. Yo. That's crazy. Okay, well, okay, yeah, we can rearrange it then. I'll just grab the original thing and kind of put it right here. Is definitely better, yeah. Just have to erase the edges to make it fade in nicely, and then we should be good. Damn, dude. You can barely tell. I mean, this part is a bit weird where it connects, but if you ignore that, I mean, that's not bad. Okay, then next we need some piercings and earrings and stuff like that. Starting with one of these bad boys. Let's cut that out. Quite literally, just put it on my ear. That does, of course, need some work. Below that, for example, a very subtle shadow sampled from the inner ear. Just making sure all the colors match. And very important, increasing that tiny little highlight to match the one on my ear. Right over there. See? Already a lot better. I also want to try some of these. This is really just trying stuff, guys. I have no idea if any of this really looks nice in the end, but we'll just see. Here you go. Then let's see if these fit. Should be no problem, though. Now, finally, some of this stuff as well. Pretty funny to see, though. I gotta say, it's something. And to make the entire thing look more realistic, let's get rid of that. Let's see. See, I think maybe we can just grab a brush in the shape of smoke or mist and just kind of paint behind me a little bit, very subtle. Here you go, just like that. And then we slowly fade that back out again to make a very clean looking fade. And a very similar thing coming from the top right, because that's where the main light source is. Or well, not the main light source, but the the rim light source. And then after that, once again, the exact same thing, fading that out to a very soft looking result, just like that. And we can make the background black to see it a bit better. Whoa. And then from my own overlay pack, let's see, maybe we can use this. Just putting that over there, putting that on screen, then hiding that because we want it to be very subtle. And then on some of these spots, paint that on, just peeking through those misty cloud looking things. Ooh, and then I myself am just being faded out a little bit so it looks like I'm walking through that smoke. Wouldn't that be bloody lovely? I'm not sure about this, I won't lie. I am not sure. We can of course add a camera raw filter for a final little touch, but besides that, I'm really not so sure. Here you go, nice and crisp. For this, we definitely want to have grain though, because first of all, that already was grain, but second of all, it kind of fits the theme, the vibe. It really just has to be harsh, and I kind of like this. A little bit more saturation in the face. Like that. Yeah, to be fair, this is rather nice. I quite like this. It's not as extra as I maybe thought it was going to be, but it's cool. It's it's weird seeing myself like this, but it's kind of cool. Of course, I had to repeat all these steps on the second image, which ended up looking something like this. Honestly, I think the second angle turned out much better. It helped that the original photo was a bit stronger to begin with. I also decided to try using this graphic on my t-shirt instead, and to my surprise, I actually like that quite a bit more. Without that, the design just doesn't really carry that bold, aggressive vibe I was aiming for. And that pretty much wraps up the first style for today, so let's move on to the second one, old money. This one would obviously require a completely different approach, even as far as the outfit goes. For this one, I picked out these beige pants, a white polo, a beige belt, a watch that I already had, and these brown leather shoes that I also already own. This definitely, so far, feels more like something I would actually wear in public, but I wouldn't say it really fits me. I also thought it'd be fun to put on my glasses for this one. Yes, I have glasses, I just never wear them. Felt like a nice touch to make it a bit more classy. As far as the hair goes, here I chose a bit of a more clean style. Well, yeah, I mean, what can I say? It kind of speaks for itself. This time I definitely did not want that same dark environment, so I rolled down my white backdrop and slightly rearranged some lights. Then once again, it's time for some pictures. And this is when I quickly realized the glasses were not it, so I ditched them pretty much instantly. I take these photos remotely on my phone, by the way, with a timer. It's a bit of a hassle sometimes, but it works, and if you're alone like I am, then it's really the only option. Sorting these out was easy. There was a few that really stuck out instantly, so well, let's get to it then. Obviously, for these two, we don't need to do nearly as much as the previous one. It's mostly going to be some retouching in the face and minor details. And you know what? I think we might even be able to just use the original background if we just get rid of this stuff using AI. There you go. Click generative fill. I have to say, this really, look at that. That's incredible. And we could make it a little bit more even by simply doing select subject. That will just roughly select me, although I will say this is not that bad. So now we have a duplicate of me. I'm just gonna try something here. What if we blur the background so much that it becomes super clean and clear, and we hide that layer again and simply paint over the uneven areas like this? Do you think that might work? I'm a genius. Look, this is before and this is at, oh, incredible. Anyway, then once again, let's get rid of all the little imperfections on my face and skin, and then we can move on to the skin smoothing, which I do think we need in this particular case. And now that I'm at it, let's also remove this because I have an idea for that. Anyway, let me just duplicate this layer and blur that. Here you go, surface blur, hide that layer, and then very softly paint on some skin areas that are a bit too rough. The opacity on like 60 to make sure it's not too intense. And then what I just said about this little icon, let's replace that with something a bit fancier. Should be right about here. For this, we only need the darker areas. Beautiful. And just like that, I think that looks pretty realistic. It does. I'm not sure this is a thing with this brand, but let's make it the same kind of greenish color as that. Here you go. Beautiful. Fake it till you make it, guys. Also gonna make the eyes just slightly brighter using some exposure. Here you go. Very subtle. Another one as well. Oh, okay. Very fancy. Then I do think it'd be nice if the belt is the same kind of brown as my shoes, which I kind of wanted to. I just didn't have one, and I couldn't really find one that looked like that. So instead, let's do it manually. First, let me just make a mask for the belt area. There you go. And then let's see what we can do in terms of brightness and color. Definitely need to be a lot more intense. Something like... This is already getting a bit closer. We do have to make sure it doesn't lose that 3D kind of effect. So let's try something like this. Yeah, so here's before and then this is after. I think that is quite a lot better. And then there's one more thing. I want the watch to be a bit more of a bright, light metal rather than the pretty smoky silver color it is currently. I'm guessing something like this is about the limit. Otherwise, it's going to be way too much. Yes, it is better. And here's the thing, because this is such a clean and polished kind of style, there's not much else we should do. It's nice that it's clean. It fits the aesthetic. Let me go ahead, however, and add a camera raw filter, because we still can definitely make this look a bit cleaner, especially in skin tones. I just want to kind of make that a bit more alive. Here you go. And then, yeah, that is, that's pretty much it. And I just have to do the exact same thing to this second photo and be done with it. Looking back, I kind of dislike my facial expressions, but it does kind of fit this type of thing, doesn't it? Looking straight into the camera implies confidence, I suppose. In the end, I'm also not really sure if this is old money or just rich people style. Pretty wild seeing this next to the previous one though, and honestly, I might prefer the previous one. I wouldn't say this looks off on me in any way, it's just, it doesn't really feel like me. I think we can all agree on that. The next one is something a bit more casual, luckily, the skater style. I won't repeat myself too much again, but for this one I collected the following: a white t-shirt, a brown sweater, some very loose jeans, those same black and white socks, and white Converse shoes. Besides the pants, this is all stuff I could have worn myself anyway. It's just kind of the combination that's new to me. I shot the desired pictures, picked out a few of them, and well, back to Photoshop it is. Per usual, I began with cutting myself out because for this one I wanted a background as well. As a little trick, I decided to select the shadows on the ground and make them black and white. That will come in handy later. For this aesthetic, I thought some concrete and bricks would be a good fit, so I popped that in. And it only took me about 10 minutes to figure out I actually really needed those bricks instead. Without that, it just looked weird and flat somehow. After having the lighting I wanted, I made sure to add a slight blur to the background, and that did in fact improve a lot. The usual skin cleanup also is a must, and with all that done, that leaves me to the final step: adding a brand to the clothing that actually matches the style, like Thrasher, for example. Using warp, I kind of adjusted the shape of my sweater, and then with a combination of blend if and shadows, I finished that up. At the end though, I realized white might just be superior. A camera raw filter for that crisp final touch, and well, pretty darn solid. Now, you guessed it, the exact same thing for the second photo again. I feel like I could have gone further with this one, but I suppose it's kind of nice they're all tame versions of the styles I picked. I did them all in a way that feels natural enough for it to work on me, and I feel like I succeeded in that relatively well. I just love seeing these side by side. The contrast is so big, I love this. My very first initial idea was to go absolutely wild with these outfits, just really creating the most extravagant versions imaginable, but it felt like almost too big of a stretch to do that before knowing anything at all about this. This video here just really felt like a logical first step, so I guess if you guys enjoyed it, or this video does well, I can do that version of the video as well, where we just take it to a whole other level. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell not to miss a single future video, and then I hope I'll see you in the next one.